the golden brown skin on his corded forearms pebbling with the chill of the early morning. When he'd finally pulled on his thermal and marched to the door, a grumbled, "Hang on," in his dark, scratchy morning voice, I'd turned my head to press my face against the pillow, to press my knees together in shocked, frustrated longing. It's not that I hadn't known I was attracted to him, but in the early morning fog of sleep, I hadn't yet remembered why I shouldn't be. It had been Hammond at the door, announcing that Paul had a surprise, which I could only hope had nothing to do with the swimming hole. Barely 20 minutes later, and Aiden and I had hiked, groggy and cold and silent, still a little bruised, maybe, from yesterday's awkward exchange over the tour plan, out past the storage warehouse, a satisfying crackle of leaves on the trail beneath our feet. Zip-lining. That had been the surprise, and from the beginning almost everything about it seemed designed to break the tension lingering between Aiden and me. When it was my turn up on the deck, Aiden having already gone across, Paul had helped me into a harness, and I'd basically done gymnastics with my eyeballs to avoid looking anywhere near his face or his crotch, and even though Aiden had been 500 feet away, I could feel his smile. I could almost hear that low laugh from yesterday, the one that had lit me up from the inside. And once I'd kicked away from the decking, I'd laughed in delight, seeing everything Lorraine promised. Early morning light winking through the changing colors of the canopy, leaves shiny and pronounced with morning dew. When I'd landed on the opposite side, Aiden waiting there, I'd looked up at him, and he'd smiled down at me with the same look he'd given me yesterday in the cabin, just before he'd touched me. It looked something like affection, something like desire. Afterward, Lorraine had revealed thermoses of coffee and fresh-made muffins. For the first time, I suspected I'd had something close to the experience of being an actual camper here. Sure, we're all competing for something, but out there in the early morning zip-lining through the trees, we were all on the same side. It had lasted, of course, only up until Tom and Cherie's presentation, when the tense edge of rivalry had again fallen over the lodge's dining room, despite Tom and Cherie's constant positivity. It was as I'd thought, similar to Val's, with assists by 4 teenagers from Tom's program in Shaftesbury Park. Their vision for the camp wasn't as original, modeled on what Stanton Valley already is, but with a focus on programs for kids growing up in the city, far away from what Cherie called the pleasures of nature. They hadn't worked out much of the business side of things, some of their slides a bit muddled on details. But details or not, original or not, Tom and Cherie presenting together was its own magic. Comfortable and spontaneous, joking and laughing, teasing Tommy where he sat wriggling on Lorraine's lap. Aiden and I had watched, a frozen tableau exactly like we'd been last week, his arm across my back and my hand on his knee, and I think both of us had seen the strength Tom and Cherie brought to the table. They looked like a family. They looked like love. So maybe that's why, once the after-presentation bonfire got underway, Aiden stayed close, a hand on my shoulder while I stuck my marshmallow-topped skewer into the fire. A few fingers to push the hair away from my mouth when I'd first bitten into the s'more. His thigh pressed close to mine while we sat side by side. Obviously, I'd thought with surprisingly grim disappointment. This is only for show. "Aiden," Cherie says, from where she sits on the other side of the fire, passing little Tommy another unroasted marshmallow, which he stuffs in his face with chubby, sticky hands. "Do you remember when Kenny Templeton sat in the bonfire, back when you were a counselor?" I inadvertently stiffen at this. Cherie's casual invocation of the past, a topic Aiden seems to avoid with everyone, not just with me. Usually that's a comfort, but right now I feel it like a string pulled tight at the back of my neck.